to the RunRX Podcast, where we talk about all things running. As many runners know, it's 90% mental. So join Coach Valerie and Coach Caroline as we go through the mental side of running.
Welcome back to the RunRX Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Caroline, and I'm here with Coach Valerie. Hey, Coach, it's that time of year again. You know, we're coming to the end of the year. We're going to start the new year. And basically, we're getting all these little notes saying, what's the one exercise older people should be doing to stay strong? And then, of course, you look deeper, and I love it because it's like there are only 4 simple movements, or there are only 5 exercises you need to do for a strong core, which cracks me up because I'm like, well, what's the one exercise? You told me there's only one exercise, and then you give me 5. So I feel like it's, bait and switch on that one. But we get asked that a lot. We get quite a few people that work with us, that are currently working with us, that come back to us and say, well, what's the one drill I need to do? What is the one thing, the one strength training? What's the one thing, if that's all I can do and that's all I have time for, that I should be doing, right? They're always asking us this. And so let's answer that. What is the one thing for runners?
Well, it's funny because we started talking about this before. So the best part about what we do is we teach one action, and that action is the pulling action of running. And it stays the same. Like, I talk about someone that's consistent. So, there's only one action that you need to learn. And then we use, a series of exercises and things to get there, to get you better at that one action, of course, which we use and we call them drills. And it's funny because the foundation of running is really the ball of foot hop. And so honestly, if people were like, I can only do one thing, what should I do? I'd be like, well, do a ball of foot hop. And the amazing part is, how hard it is to do a ball of foot hop.
Right. It's harder than you think, guys.
Yeah. And I'm not laughing like that in that way, but it's interesting how we so badly kind of want to simplify things, but then we don't on the other end. Because then when I say to people, really, you just need this one action. I'm just going to teach you how to pull. It's just the only thing you really need to learn. Then we hear later, well, no, what else is there?
Yeah, right? It's like they think that you're hiding
it. Yeah. So either you're not getting enough or there's too much. But we were laughing because I'm in my 50s and so is Caroline. And when I first started exercising years and years ago, I've been a trainer for over 30 years. So I'm talking about even when I was in younger, high school, middle school, even back then, the fitness magazines, it was always 1 new move to a brand new you, or 3 new moves to a brand new you. And I was laughing because we're not seeing anything different. Like all the marketing is the same. It might just be worded differently, right? Like we were laughing, 1 new move to a stronger you. And then I said, but also what's funny is we really do stick to teaching just one move, because in running, it's one movement. It's pulling your foot up from the ground. And it's interesting how it really is so simple, right? And either people want to, they want to learn it, quickly. Of course, we're talking about that. And one thing we don't promise is that it's easy. We say it's simple, and we make it as simple as we can. But running, it's all complicated. In more, not as much as. I'm sorry, that didn't come out right.
Well, it's how we complicate it with our brain is how we complicate it. It's a simple movement, but what we were talking about before we did this, when we were kind of getting started with this, guys, is that it's amazing that it's always the same, and there's no way to quote unquote speed it up. Like you can't do it faster. The fastest way to learn how to run correctly with RunRX would be if you did no extra running, just focused on what we wanted you to do for those 28 days. And you checked in and you came on the Zooms and you did all the exercises in the order we want you to do. And you didn't try to do anything else. You didn't do it as an add-on to an existing plan. That's probably the fastest you would go. But it would take like totally opening up your mind and being coachable, totally being all in on what we're teaching. And there are very few people that can do that. It's just the way it is. So those that can't do that, they add it as a addition to what they're doing, or they do a little bit more. It takes them a little bit longer. But the actual process, what they're doing is the same. We can't like do it in a weekend. We tried. We tried doing it in clinics. We tried doing it over a weekend. We tried doing it in a 3-day boot camp. We've tried every which way, but you just get a piece of it. It really takes like about a month of dedicated work with a coach to get the elements. Now, even then, I'm not going to say you have it. You're going to see a marked improvement, but that's when we go from that simple movement, or even the 3 elements of post fall pull, and we start really doing the nuance of it. Just like we were talking about in last week's episode, the squat. Okay, everybody does a squat to go to the bathroom, right? But the squat has certain elements to it. It needs certain mobility in your ankles. You need a little bit of flexibility, mobility in your hips that maybe you didn't realize if you want to go deeper than the toilet. Those kind of things, right? So when we're doing the running, it's the same kind of thing, where what we're trying to do is, yes, it's pose, fall, pull. That's it. And pull is the only action you have to do. But once you get through understanding what that is and really wrapping your brain around it, that's when the fun comes, and we start getting into the nuance of the timing of the pull, and the pull in response to your fall, and the opening up your brain. That was the other thing we said. Sometimes the longest muscle that has to work is the one between our ears, because they just will not let go of what they learned, or how they perceive themselves, or what they perceive themselves as doing. And when Coach Valerie says you need to lift as a unit, they may not understand it. You may not understand it as you're listening to us right now, but we need you to kind of be open to that if you come in and work with us. And then that will help it. If I'm going to say, if it could move faster, that would help it move a little bit faster.
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest part is when people come in and join us, or if you read something about this movement helps you, for example, we saw one of the exercises, this one move makes you stronger, right?
Right.
Well, that's not really true. There's no way one movement can make me, not to say movements can't make you stronger, but you kind of know you're getting played a little bit with the marketing. But you click on it just for funsies, and same thing. Everybody wants to work parts of their body, right? So, like, the challenge we have, and what we always talk about, is we have one movement that we teach you, but we also teach you how to move and work with your whole body, and that's challenging. A lot of runners come in and they think running is only with my legs. Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I was first started out as a trainer, by the way, way back, if I ever had a guy sign up and he was a runner, he'd always say, "We're not doing legs. I'm a runner." And my response was always, "You need to do legs because you're a runner."
You're a runner, yeah.
Like, it's part of your whole body, right? And then so we actually, when we talk about that, my whole thing is we also have to get you part of the fun of that month. Instead of thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm not going to run for a month," you're just relearning the movement of running.
Right.
So it's not the same running that you were doing, in a sense of, like, you're not just going to walk out the door and run, because there's just a little bit more to it for this month. But the best part is, at the end of the month, you have not just reset your running, you've reset your communication with you, how to work with your own body for your running, or your walking too, your movement in general.
Well, and what's so interesting with that is, because we do it over this kind of isolated 28 days, because we basically give you the information bit by bit every day, and then we ask you to check in once a week on a specific movement that you've learned. I think of that as the same way you would go about, say, maybe cutting out sugar from your diet. Like, you wouldn't say, "Okay, I'm going to cut out sugar, but I'm only going to cut out sugar when I'm at work, and at nights and on weekends I'm going to go ahead and eat sugar because I want to be able to do both," right? It wouldn't work. You wouldn't.
Right.
When you go to your doctor and say, "Well, I'm still craving sugars," they would say, "Because you're doing it on nights and weekends." That's what I mean by adding on to your existing plan. And that's what tends to happen, is people will come in and do do what we've asked them to do, and then do it as an add-on to their already existing plan. So they're still going out and running 3 or 4 miles 3 days a week and doing a long run on Saturday, which I'm not saying is wrong. It's you still are going to have success. It's just going to take a little bit longer because you're letting your body, it learns this new movement and it goes, oh, okay, I get this. This feels good. And then you go out and within probably maybe a meter, 10 meters, it falls into its own habit, its old habit, kind of like I keep talking about that divot in the ground. It falls into that divot and it just is going to drive there. The only way to get it to learn the new movement is to stop doing the old movement. The only way your body will release the stuff from the sugar is to stop eating the sugar altogether, right? And not try to do it just from 9 to 5 on the weekends. So that's really what I find fascinating about it. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about that I find also fascinating is this idea of, we'll see it in running magazines too, like swing your arms to get faster, or like do high knees. These other kind of drills. This one drill will speed up your running, or this one drill will make you better. But what you're trying to say is that has nothing to do with, like, doing high knees and swinging my arms isn't going to make me a better runner, is it?
No, but here's the thing. So, I mean, my drills probably look very similar to that. The challenge is this, like, you know, um, trying to make a movement when you don't understand the original movement. Like, so telling someone to do a like swing. Like, I used to hear this all the time, right? Pump your arms, pump your arms, pump your arms.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're tired, you can hardly breathe, and you're like, oh, I'm trying to pump my arms. Well, when you start to realize, or when you learn about running, and you're like, well, the arms actually are already pumping on their own. You don't have to do anything but pull your feet and hold the correct pose. Then the arms do swing. And that, to me, guys, like that was huge, because for a lot of us runners that come in as older runners, like as adult runners, so much tension in the upper body and shoulder that kids say don't have, that you didn't develop as a kid. And so
Right.
I spent a lot of time helping people relax their shoulders.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because if you're trying to pump your arms while you run, you're actually creating so much tension in your neck and shoulders, and it's really fatiguing. So then this poor person is already like tired. They're trying to run faster by pumping their arms. And unfortunately, guys, your arms aren't anywhere near the ground. So they actually cannot help you to run faster. And then you're taking away from being able to use your legs because you're trying to pump your arms. But you don't have that much thought about it. If your coach yells at you, pump your arms, you just kind of pump your arms, And so same with high knees. Like, it's amazing to me that the pull action of running uses the hamstrings. So when you do high knees, it's not a terrible exercise, but it's really getting activating the hip flexor. And then I'm telling the runner, but I want you to use the hamstring. Well, it just makes a lot more sense to activate the hamstring and muscle elasticity for your run, hops and pulls, rather than doing high knees or arm swings. So then that's what we try to do. We try to make sure that the movement we use is filling the knee it gives you a better skill that you're going to actually need to use during the run.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if there is one movement, you would say work on polyfoot foot hops, or would you say pulling?
No, I would say pulls. And it's because if you're already running, and you're going to ask me
And,
for
and
one.
I
If you're
100%
going to
agree.
ask me for one thing, I'm going to give you pulls, because I'd rather you, for running, obviously, really understanding the action of running, that up action of the pull is really helpful. And I think that most people, if they start to see a change in their movement, then they might be more likely to come back through and be like, okay, maybe I will add a ball foot up. But it's amazing, by the way, like I see, like, here comes the holidays, right? And people want to buy new shoes, they want to buy whatever. And, I was laughing because I saw the other day, the one thing, all runners should jump rope. And I'm laughing. I'm like, most people I know can't even jump rope.
Right.
So it's like dolphin hops.
Well, I was laughing when you said that, because if you hadn't said the pulling, I would have said the pulling, because when we met, I was coming off my first, I have arthritis in both, a little bit of arthritis in both knees, and I've had them both scoped. And I was just coming off my first scoping when I met you, and I was having trouble getting back into it. And that was the one thing you told me to do. You lined me up to do a little run around the parking lot, and you said, I want you to just imagine there's a string on your ankle and pull it up right underneath, up to your knee, and just concentrate on pulling, just pulling it. Don't think push, don't think reach, think pull. And that's all you said. And it made all the difference, like that one little bit. So that's what I kind of want to put that out to you guys. If you've been listening to us for a while, or you were shared this podcast with a friend, or you've seen it on Instagram and you wanted to see what we were all about, try that one action, do that one thing, and see if you don't get that little spark, and then want to come back and talk to us more, because we would love to have you in our membership. We would love to have you be part of our social media crew, and ask us any questions you want. Instagram, Facebook. We don't do a lot of DMs and messages. I know that's, bad marketing on my part, but Valerie is very active on Instagram. So if you post a question on a drill that she does, she will answer it. If you have something you want us to talk about or demonstrate on, say, a Rumble or a YouTube video, go ahead and send it to support@runrx.fit. That's support, SUPPORT, @RUNRX.FIT. And we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for joining us on the RunRX Podcast. If you'd like to know more, join us at www.runrx.fit. And if you have additional questions that you'd like answered on the podcast, email us at support@runrx.fit.